34-year-old Christian pastor and father of two is set to be executed. They're going to hang him. Why? Well, he dared to leave Islam and convert to Christianity. It's happening in Iran, and that's actually only the beginning. It's not an isolated case. A war on Christians is spreading throughout the Muslim world. Christians are being murdered, some by machetes, raped, jailed, burned, forced from their homes, you name it. It is happening to them. Reverend Franklin Graham has seen it firsthand. His aid group, Samaritan's Purse, is helping displaced Christians in the Sudan, and Sudan's military recently bombed a Bible school built by Samaritan's Purse. Reverend Graham joins us. Nice to see you, sir.
Good to be with you, Greta.
Before we talk about big picture, I want to talk about this pastor in Iran. He dared to become a Christian.
Greta, according to the court records, what we can determine, he never was a Muslim. His parents were Muslim, and he was a Christian at, I think it was age 19. And what they have charged him on is apostasy under Islamic law, and it's called Sharia law. This is what he's been charged with for converting to Christianity. But since he hadn't been a Muslim, they're going to hang him anyway because his parents were Muslim, and so therefore he's been sentenced to death because his parents were Muslim, but he was never a Muslim.
Well, even if he had been a Muslim and he converted, I mean, that would be appalling. Forget the fact that it doesn't, they say that if that your conversion is what makes you eligible for execution. But I mean, it's just sort of the idea that a man or a woman just decides to convert to Christianity from another religion, from Muslim.
Well,
and you get hanging.
There's millions of Muslims out there that don't agree with this. They're wonderful people, Greta, but they're under the system of Sharia law. They can't get out from under it because the law, the Quran demands if a person leaves Islam, they're to be killed. They're given a chance to recant, and they can reverse this. But if they don't recant, if they don't denounce their faith, whatever, like this man was told to renounce his faith in Jesus Christ, but he refused to do it, and so therefore they're going to hang him. But this is the law of Sharia, and it is a scary system. And Sharia law governs all of life for a Muslim. It's political, it's military, it's economic. Sharia law governs everything, and so no Western law is recognized. It's only Sharia law.
And there's, of course, nothing that the United States can do for this pastor in Iran. I mean, we've got enough problems with Iran. I mean, except for to plea that.
I think there is things. The president could call for a prayer meeting at the White House. He could make a statement. We apologized to the Afghans because a Quran was mistakenly burned, and this Quran had been used in smuggling out messages out of Bagram prison. And he apologizes to the Afghans after an Afghan soldier killed 2 Americans. But why doesn't he speak out? He could use the power of the White House to call pastors together at the White House and have a prayer meeting for this guy, but he hasn't done it.
All right, we talk about this one case and we see the picture with his family and it's horrifying. But Newsweek covered this week, and I'll hold it up. What's happening to this man is not particularly unusual. I mean, it talks about the war on Christians in Newsweek, and the writer goes through many situations, especially the Sudan.
Correct. And Greta, we have people in the Sudan right now. They're being bombed. It's almost every day. And they're bombing civilians, not military targets, just civilian targets. And it's because many of them is their faith in Jesus Christ, but the Nubian people are mixed between Muslim and Christian, and they're black African. And the north is, for the most part, Arab. It's a race war, and the Arabs are trying to kill the blacks and run them off their land. And the world is saying very little about this, Greta, and it breaks my heart. We've got a lot of friends. A few years ago, the Muslims burned over 1,000 churches in the South Sudan. There in the Nuba Mountains, we have built back about 356 of these churches, and already they're beginning to burn them again. And
you tipped me off to a video in the New York Times today, on the New York Times website, yes, which shows video from the area, and it's breathtaking. It's so horrible.
It is, and I appreciate very much the New York Times sending a reporter in there, Nicholas Kristof, to document this.
In terms of the Sudan, I know you told me before, but you think that with the South Sudan, that President convening both leaders would go very far?
It would, Greta. President Bashir has told me on several occasions he would.
And he's one of the bad guys.
Well, there's a lot of bad guys.
Well, he's under indictment by the International Criminal Court.
And he is, but he has said America has to be engaged in this, and America's kind of ignored him. Salva Kiir in the South, the president of the South, has said the same thing. The United States has to be engaged. Jimmy Carter he took a big risk when he invited Menachem Begin and Sadat to come to Camp David to hammer out a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt. No one thought that would ever happen. And he did it because both sides were weary of war. Both sides wanted peace. I think both sides want peace, and they're weary of it. But if someone like our president, and I think he could do it, brought them here to Washington, sat down at Camp David, and hammered out a peace deal, this thing could be solved.
Well, I urge people to read The War on Christians in Newsweek. Go online and read it because it talks a much broader picture about what's going on with these minority groups around the world. Reverend, nice to see you, sir.
Thank you, Greta.